I was the youngest one there, and every day you'd have conversations with blokes at 50 who'd been in 10 times, and you go, oh, you come back? And I thought, oh, no, right, I can't be one of them. I can't get into the grammar of where you just, you know, hit the ceiling and then you're brought in here. And I didn't want that to be established as part of the pattern that would define the rest of my life. Basically, what I did was unilaterally assimilate the fact that it was fine to be treated. In our family, if you were in prison, the day you came out of prison, they threw a party. And of course, when I came out of the bin, they said, no playing billiards in the pub. Because if you play billiards too well, they knew where you'd been. Billiards and ping pong. You give the game away, show the family up. There's no doubt about it, that saved my life. And that wasn't my judgment. I was dragged there. And, but everything that happened in there was what needed to happen. I mean, it was a no-brainer. I had to be changed because all I wanted to do was die. And you know, I felt completely alone because there was nobody to talk to about the right kind of things, because that would have a serious kind of ripple effect down the family. The first day I went in, you know, it was like kind of 60-year-old women offering you sex, and just about everybody offering you sex on the first day. And I just, they're all mad. And you go, well, they're all mad. And that's the point, and so am I. And actually, I need to be in an acute ward. And they were all seriously acute. And but then after about a week, it just felt like a really nice place to find the tools to leave with. That's what I felt. Oh, I can think of massive positives, massive assets that I got from that illness, which, you know, at 15, I think at 15, I was reprogrammed to consider myself objectively. You look at yourself from the outside and you work out how to solve problems you're taught by a shrink. And I'm not saying these were, you know, my top 5 shrinks. They were pretty basic, and in a place like that, they had to teach you basic things. And what they taught me then was how to solve psychological problems. You know, so how you deal with your own you know, self-treatment to a certain degree, how to prevent this happening again. And of course that had a massive impact on the way I'm a father, the way I'm a husband, the way I'm a grown-up, the way I'm a writer. I mean, certainly in the way I'm a writer, because I think what it made me do is I think it supplied me with the ability to be, to disconnect, to look at the way other people feel. Because if you learn about how your emotional system works, you can't not think about other people's. And I think that's all that a writer is. You put yourself in someone else's shoes, and it's a bit like commercial psychosis. When you're writing a character, you know, I can't write a character going, oh, it's that pregnant woman over there. I've got to be that pregnant woman. And it kind of teaches you to be empathetic towards people. And it can't not, because once you've learned how to deal with your own psychological disposition, you can't not look at how other people feel. By the time I was 18, I was a really strong bloke. I was a really strong bloke, and it's kind of mentally and emotionally. I think I was far advanced from most of my siblings who had it yet to come. It does it as badly as it does Down syndrome, epilepsy, diabetes. It does it with absolute reverence. It's not helpful to actually give medical advice within soap operas. I think it's lethal because it makes everybody expect that there's a really clean clinical pattern to the way it's handled, and it's not. I've been with my wife 17 years. I only told her 17 years in. And I've been with her 18 years. I told her about 2 years ago, I had bipolar, because it doesn't need to be visible. And she completely freaked out because we don't have secrets. And you go, oh, yeah, but it's not a secret for any other reason than now, when I'm pissed off, she goes, you all right? I go, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just really off about what your mum said or whatever. You know, you can't just be in a bad temper. You can't just be in a dip. You have to, you know, you recognise the illness becomes the definition, and which is why I never told her. And of course, if I have a big plan, I'm looked at twice, and you go, no, I've always had big plans, and and you weren't there the other times, and I've pulled every single one of them off. So when I get, you know, BMP the musical, and we're going to make this big MGM street musical, and they all think you're barking mad, but we've raised £5 million for it to make it. And the extremity from the illness makes me aim higher with certain ideas. Not all of them, but yeah, I kind of I somehow burn off the fuel of the illness by pulling off the job, basically leaping to places you don't know where you're going to land, because that kind of somehow stops it going ballistic for me. Yeah. I think creativity is one way of, you know, either in assisting a treatment program, and you know, I just think it just makes common sense. It always was the best way through. A lot of people are terrified of the mental health system because it's perceived to be aggressively chemical. And you go, well, it is if you pop, but then the whole point of it is to train you to actually handle your own rhythms. I've got a friend at the moment. I took him to his GPs, and I really had to drag him. And when we got there, the GP said, if you hadn't turned up and I'd seen you today, if I'd come to you and seen you, you would have been sectioned. And this bloke was just petrified of attending for treatment. And it's like 3 weeks later, he's kind of, you know, medication kicks in, you know, and he starts to feel better about himself. And now he's telling me, yeah, but I mean, what I hate is just having to depend on the medication. It's just, you know, a kind of happy pills. And you go, no, you don't know how it works. It basically re-stimulates what you do to make yourself happy. And so he's got this perception that the happy pill, he's dying to get off them. And I go, why would you want to get off them? If you had diabetes, you'd be taking insulin twice a day, and you'd be fine about that. And I've got a fear that he'll just withdraw, which will make it 10 times worse. Then he'll end up getting sectioned. And you go, it's just a lack of education. And quite often when you're on a medication, and it's that thing where you go, I wonder which bit's me. And so you withdraw medication. You go, oh, how, you know, it's classic, stupid, long-term medication tactic, you know, to withdraw your medication deliberately, so you go worse just to test what's you. And you go, well, you know what's you, and actually there's no difference between you on it and you off it. Actually, it's just that your thought processes are different. I mean, I love the highs, and that's actually what made me a writer, I think. And I think I was bipolar at 14. I don't think they've any idea how many labour days, labour hours they miss from mental health. You know, as people with a bad back, you just go, no, actually, they're falling apart, is the truth. It's like two-thirds of the girls in one of the schools where I live were found by Ofsted to be self-harming. And you go, oh, that's just criminal. It's criminal that we're allowing that to happen, because, you know, that can be copycat behaviour, or it can be high-stress, hot housing, educational system. But a good third of those are going to need serious help, and they'll need it in 5 years when they've popped, and that will cost 5,000 times more than dealing with it now. Nobody ever said how easy it is to make an appointment with your own GP. You don't have to go and talk to a shrink. You talk to a GP before you need one, and your GP steers you down that course. And I think, like pregnancy and contraception, you know, it took 20 years for people to realise they can go to the doctor on their own. I think kids should know that there is a place to go, that there's a kind of help stream available to them without their parents, because I think they don't like talking to family about depression, because somehow that accuses the family of inflicting it. Families don't acknowledge that somebody's depressed because that is a clinical treatable syndrome. They just say he's a bit fed up. So, you know, they consign it to a kind of social malaise instead of a clinical form. I think home treatment for depression and mental health disorders is the finest way to treat them. And you only need specialist units when things have gone too far. It's not identifiable from the outside if you get treated soon enough. I think the stigma will eventually fade away. That's just the education factor of knowledge that it's a treatable illness, like measles, rosacea, or anything like that. You know, childhood illnesses, or, you know, adolescent illnesses. That, you know, it's perfectly treatable. And I think the fact that it looks like a terminal stain on the family is what contaminates the kind of treatment cycle. Actually, it's critical now. You know, it's like 6 million people on, you know, serotonin medication is 10% of the population. And if 10% of the population started having liver disease, it would be a big deal. Your GP is the strongest first call, and you don't need a parent to do that. They're saying it fast enough with contraception. I think the media is the strongest way to achieve that, and well, with funding, and which is why we're all doing this.